What this thing is a ticking time bomb. Hi guys, welcome to another video and welcome to my first trip out with this bad boy. This is a Fuji GA645Zi medium format film camera, and effectively it's a big point and shoot camera. Now I've wanted one of these literally for years, and I've finally managed to get my hands on one. It's not without problems, which I'll talk about later, and it's definitely a very quirky camera, but I think equally excited and scared about putting this first roll of film through it. So basically what I'm doing a local walk, and I'm going to take the camera along. I'm obviously taking you guys with me. And we're just going to fire off this roll of film. I'm effectively going to do most of it handheld, I think. And we'll fire off this roll of film, talk about the camera, and hopefully we'll get some nice shots along the way. So without further ado, let's go to the first shot. So as you were seeing at the start, I loaded a roll of XP2 black and white film. So basically, I'm going to take my first shot at Rendezvous Cafe. So I'm going to just go over there, get myself into a location, zoom or not zoom as required, and fire away.
Oh, what about that? 80 per second, f445.
Right, I'm a touch concerned about the meter reading I'm getting. I'm getting 400 per second at f8. I want an ISO 400 film. I'm concerned because I'm not sure if the ISO has been set correctly, and I will talk to you later about that. So I think what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to take a meter reading on a phone app and see how that compares, and then go with whichever one I think seems more suitable. Right, so I've come onto the beach and I'm going to take another portrait shot. Now, in case you're wondering why I'm doing portraits, even though I'm holding the camera in landscape orientation, well, hopefully I'm going to demonstrate. Yep, your eyes aren't deceiving you. This camera does shoot in portrait orientation as opposed to landscape. So if you want to shoot a landscape, you need to hold it like that in portrait. Not confusing at all. Anyway, I quite like the challenge of it. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to try and compose one now, and then we'll have a little bit talk about metering, because that is proving to be a little bit difficult. See, force of habit there. I was going to go for portrait, so I turned it to, I'm doing a portrait shot, so I turned it to portrait, but obviously I'm shooting in portrait in landscape, if that made any sense at all, which it probably didn't. I've got some people on the beach. I'd prefer not to have people on the beach, to be honest, but 250th of second, f16. Right, it's time to discuss why I'm having exposure problems with this camera. And effectively, what this thing is a ticking time bomb. Basically, this camera was released in the late 90s using a lot of late 90s electronics. And the reality is, a lot of these late 90s electronics are just starting to break. And this camera is no exception, unfortunately. Now, if you look at the rear screen, there's an LCD screen there. This is on its way out. And at the moment, what this actually means is that I can't set the ISO because I can't see what the ISO figure is of the film. So what I'm having to do is I'm basically having to press the ISO button on the top turn it fully clockwise, which sets it to the auto, then bring it back to ISO 400, which is a bit of a faff on, to say the least. Now, this can actually get worse, because what's happening is basically this ribbon cable's breaking between the body and the film back. And over time, when this ribbon cable totally goes, the camera will not be able to recognise that film's been loaded, and it won't auto wind on. And it's an auto winding camera. This camera has got a lot of electronics going in on it, and when that happens, I'm pretty scuppered. It becomes a nice brick, a nice decorative brick. Luckily, there is a company in Poland, and I've been in touch with them today, and they can actually repair it. So things are looking good for this little camera, and I have to say it's bringing a real smile to my face. But yeah, ticking time bomb. Anyway, I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a shot of this shelter, and then I'm going to continue my walk, and I'll have a chat with you further on about some other problems I've got with it. Now, this little beauty also has a battery drain issue. Now, what the previous owner has told me is that I can effectively expect these batteries to last just about 24 hours when they're in the camera. Hence why at the start of the video you saw me loading the batteries, because I've left it to the last possible minute. Obviously this is not an ideal situation, and again the guys in Poland have said that they can look into that and sort that, so I'm hoping once all the repairs are done this camera's going to come back pretty much as good as new, because when it came out new this was a Fuji professional camera body. And considering that I'm walking around with a medium format film camera shooting 6 by 4.5 centimetre negatives, and I can just hold it in my hand like that, it's just wonderful, isn't it? Now, it's also got a limited zoom lens on it, which I think does roughly equivalent of something like 35 to 55mm full frame terms, but I'll put the figures up on the screen just there so you can actually see them. Because to be honest, I have enough worrying about exposures and films winding on, things like that, to try and remember what the actual exact focal range is of a lens. Now, it's a slow lens, so I'll be honest. Again, I'll put the F numbers up there, which really means I'm going to have to use fairly fast film if I'm going to use this handheld like this, which has been a real pleasure. But what I want, really keen to do, is to actually get into the woodland, and that's the way I'm heading now, get into some woodland, set the tripod up, and actually take a few more considered shots and see how it behaves on a tripod. So I think I'm going to continue walking, and I'll meet you in the woodland. Right. I got distracted. I ended up taking a few photos of the lighthouse. I even did a landscape once. I turned it to portrait to take the landscape shot. That's really confusing, but I tell you what, I am just enjoying using this camera so much. It's just something so liberating about knowing that it's just a big glorified point and shoot with taking a huge roll of black and white medium format film on it. You know, what's not to love? Obviously I hope the photos come out, because that would be a bit of a bonus, but hey, it's just brilliant. It's really, for me, this is the joy of photography. There's something about shooting film which is just so liberating to do in digital. You know, I'm not going to know what the results are going to be like. They could all be rubbish. And if they're all rubbish, I will be disappointed, but I'm still enjoying the process. I'm enjoying the process far more than when I shoot digitally. Anyway, I'm going to put this camera in the bag, and I'm actually going to try and get a bit of a march on and get to the woodland before it's dark. Right, something's gone wrong with the GoPro, so I may have lost some footage then, so I'm recording this bit just in case. Basically, I've just tried using the cable release on this, because it should have a threaded cable release, but it seems like my threaded cable release is a different fitting to this one, so I'm going to have to do a bit of research into that. So I've resorted to, basically, on a tripod, pressing the shutter very gently. I've been sort of getting a 1.5 second, 2 second exposure, so I'm a bit concerned I may have a bit of camera shake. I think really I won't know until I get the negs back, which sort of scupping my plan for the woodland now, so yeah, I'm a little bit gutted about that. I'm going to have to do a bit of cable release research. Anyway, one last thing I did want to talk to you about was the last thing that's broke on this camera, and that's the pop-up flash. It has a little pop-up flash just there, which you may or may not be able to see, but unfortunately it doesn't work. So That's 3 things I need to get fixed on this camera. But I've got to say, I've had so much fun using it. So I think I'm just going to take a couple more shots as I walk through the woodland, just finish this roll, and I'll catch up with you when I get the scanned negatives back. So what can I say? I don't think I've had so much fun using a camera for a really long time. This has been an absolute joy to use. It just brought a smile to my face. Now, I'll be honest, I don't think the end results on this roll of film really were that good. But that was never actually the point. Really, I just wanted to make sure the camera was working because, as I've discussed in the video, you know, it has some problems. And yeah, they've come out fine. Now, I'd like to address a couple of things I brought up in the video. First of all, the 400th of a second exposure reading I was getting was basically because that's what this shutter maxes out at. So, effectively, whilst I think my meter reading on my phone was giving me 1,000th of a second, this camera can't do 1,000th of a second shutter speed, hence why it was giving me a totally different meter reading. But it was flashing and pointing the arrow sign, which means I should have took notice of that and actually changed the aperture. But I think I got away with it anyway, so that's okay. I know for the future. And as for the cable release, I was foolishly trying to put it in here, but I think that must actually be the sync for the flash. And the cable release is over here by the shutter. So yeah, user error. But again, good to know because I do want to do some long exposures with it. But I've really enjoyed using this camera and I'm looking forward to taking it out and actually trying it on a tripod and doing some more considered photography with it. But, you know, as I've said in the video, it's a big glorified point and shoot medium format camera, and what is not to love? Honestly, a thing of beauty. It's brought a real smile to my face, and I don't think I'll use it all the time. But I do think those odd times when I do use it, that I will get a lot of pleasure from it. And I think really, you have to enjoy photography, don't you? And that's what it's all about for me. So yeah. Great stuff, love it. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, maybe give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you again soon for another one. Thanks for watching.